It's been a season of unprecedented highs and lows. Big names have disappointed, young guns have stepped up, underdogs have caused upsets, but hey, that's just the Premier League. So, welcome to the season review of the Premier League by the False Six. Today on our panel, we've got Aaron, we've got Ishan, Gyan, and we've got Mark. Welcome, gentlemen. So, let's head in straight into it. Mark, what was your overview of the season? What are your thoughts on the season that's just gone by?
I was a little worried before it began. I was scared of a lot of injuries since the players weren't as fit as they would be. Very short preseason to almost a no preseason, and even the title race this season it was a little mixed because we had Everton on the top. It was interesting since the beginning. Saw some big teams lose, and in the end it got back to normalcy with Man City coming on top. But overall, very interesting season.
That's true. I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, just talking about the title race, it wasn't your conventional title race where you had someone dominating from the first half of the season. Man City's rise was pretty late on in the season. So, coming to you, Aaron, what was your view on the title race this season?
Yeah, it wasn't a normal title race, which with the top six on top for most of the season. I think Leicester was in there in the top four for I think most of the season, like three-fourths of the season, but then couldn't make it to the top four at the end. Man City came in midway after I feel after the signing of Ruben Diaz, and after that Southampton game, they went on a 21 a game unbeaten run. West Ham, on the other hand, were also a surprise team. They were in the title race for quite some time, and then Man United at the end just couldn't make it.
Fair enough. So, I mean, West Ham was more, I feel, in the race for European spots because I think after City started pulling away, there wasn't really any competitor left. So, coming to you, Ishan, what do you feel? What's been the the contributing factor for Man City's dominant season this year?
I think Manchester City started off pretty badly. They were like eighth in the league. They had only one win against Sheffield United. Uh, that also was very lucky because it was slippery ground and stuff, and it was like not the way Man City plays with structural plays and stuff. They were getting lucky and not really the way they are supposed to be. But then I think somewhere midway in the season, Pep started using better tactics or things he was more used to, passing the ball around more. Otherwise, the players were taking too many runs, which wasn't essential. And they started captivating their chances. I think Gundogan, he stepped up really well, 13 goals and two assists for him as a midfielder. And he's never scored 13 in a season, and he came up at the right time where they needed a striker, and he did the job really well. So I think Gundogan is one of the reasons. And again, as Aaron said, Ruben Diaz very solid in defense. Like he was the man. He was always there. He was fixated, and I think Manchester City overall did well. But these two names in particular were really good.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I feel City is this season they've had players step in at the right time and contribute. So that's I think that's been a great contributor to their success. Coming to Gyan, I mean this title race as we've already discussed, it's been so fluctuating. It's changed around so much. What do you feel has been the turning point in this race for you?
I think almost all the top teams had a chance to come first or were leading the table at one point of time. But the Man City versus Southampton in December changed everything for me because I think Diaz joined Man City around that time, and after that, Man City just became a solid side and very difficult to catch. Man United also had a chance to try and catch up, but they didn't have the quality or the squad depth to catch up to them. Yeah.
That's a fair opinion there. All right, so moving on to the race for Europe. Again, this season was extremely different from the ones that we've seen before. The traditional top six, they've obviously not been. I mean, they've not enjoyed too much time in the top six, really. So, coming to Aaron, what's the race for Europe look like for you this season?
It was not a traditional race, especially seeing West Ham in the race for Europe this season. big credits to
David Moyes, yeah.
yeah for stepping up and bringing West Ham to even in the top 10 this season. It's crazy, especially with the team West Ham has had. Bringing Jesse Lingard in and seeing him perform, not he hasn't been performing that much and that great for for Man United, and then just seeing him play for West Ham the way he has been phenomenal. Leicester, on the other hand, missed out on um, the Champions League, but seeing them win the FA Cup has been, I think, great for their club.
I'm sure being a United fan, Lingard performing for West Ham would be like a spectacular highlight for you for this season. I really want to see what happens with him next season. Okay, so moving on to Mark. Leicester were in the top four for more than 200 days this season, but in the end, they've not turned up to the Champions League next year. It's quite similar to what happened last year. So what do you feel is going wrong in that, the final push, the home stretch of the season? What do you feel is going wrong with Leicester?
I feel like Leicester had a lot of injuries at really bad times of the season. And if you see, Vardy had a slump at the end. Vardy started off well. Like, they had players who tried to cover up. Iheanacho played well. He scored a lot of really important goals for them. But then they just became a little more leaky in defense at the end, started giving away silly goals. And I think by that point, they were exhausted. Because with the amount of injuries, they had so many players playing extra games. That's why, like Aaron said, the FA Cup was a massive victory. They should really consider this season as a success, considering the amount of injuries they have.
Fair enough. I mean, that's just how brutal the Premier League is. Doesn't matter if you're good for a majority of the season. If you can't deliver when it's needed, you're going to get punished. Moving on to Gyan. Now, Liverpool, they've probably had a really tumultuous season. They started off looking like they're going to defend their title. Then they start slipping. They went down to almost the 10th position. But in the end, that the final few games, they started delivering, they started performing, and they I mean, out of nowhere, they've appeared and stolen that top four spot. Actually, finished over the teams that were expecting to get those spots, and they finished third. So, what do you feel Liverpool seasons look like?
The problem with Liverpool is that they have had a mixed bag of form. Injuries haven't helped either, with Virgil van Dijk, Jordan Henderson, James Milner, some Mo Salah. All of them have been injured for a period of time, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and which has not helped their cause. All of them are starting. All of them normally start for Liverpool, and therefore they didn't have enough squad depth to defend their title. And in addition, the players who were playing were not in form and they weren't being clinical enough in front of goal. Sadio Mane had incredible amount of chances which he fluffed. Roberto Firmino also, I wouldn't say is the best at finishing goals. I think Mo Salah is the only one who tried to carry them on the goal front. And overall, I think they really missed Virgil van Dijk at the back, and they've really performed. At the end of the season, I think a Champions League spot is deserved and would be appreciated, I think.
So I mean, that's a good opinion there. I feel, yeah, the missing the defensive stalwart was a big blow for Liverpool. Now going on to like the surprise package, I feel West Ham United, they've as Aaron said, they've defied all expectations, they've defied all odds, and they've performed really well, especially after the arrival of Jesse Lingard. Uh, Ishan, what do you feel? What do you feel West Ham seasons look like? I mean, why? What is it that has led them to perform so well?
Yeah, I think no one expected West Ham to do as well as they did. And I mean, imagine not only West Ham, even in Lingard in particular. If you told me last season that Lingard would have an amazing season, just the year later with like 9 goals and 2 assists or 3 assists to his name, I wouldn't really believe it. But the way he stepped up in West Ham is phenomenal. So first of all, I think Lingard played with David Moyes back in United 13-14 before Louis van Gaal came. And I think probably there's a click over there where they had a good understanding with one another. Besides that, I think Lingard fit in perfectly into the West Ham side because they had Antonio, and they had those clinical players who can cross the ball and finish the ball. But they needed this one playmaker sort of a thing which Lingard did perfectly. I mean, he came in the center. He liked to keep the ball, and changing clubs and changing his atmosphere. I think gave him that extra confidence which he had kind of lost in United, scoring only a goal in the season before this one. So I think David Moyes' connection with Lingard and in general the timing of the whole thing is what led West Ham to such a successful season.
So that's a nice review there. I feel Mikel Antonio also the way, I mean, he's an absolute beast. I feel converting from a left winger to a striker, right? He's just been really good. So moving on to another surprise package this season. Let's talk about Leeds United. Uh, they've looked. I mean, everyone's anticipated the entry of Leeds into the Premier League for years now, and where we finally got to see Bielsa ball after so many years. And I think it's fair to say that it's not disappointed. They've been one of the most exciting teams to watch in the Premier League. So, Mark, I mean, how's Leeds' performance been for you? I mean, have they excited you as much, or what's it been like?
As a United fan, I was hoping Leeds would come back just to beat them, but they've really taken me by surprise. I knew they were a strong team because they did really well with Bielsa, but looking at how fit they were, looking at how much they ran every game, didn't matter what the score was. They just kept fighting, and I think very few teams have that in them. I think people overlook that now. If your team has that fighting spirit, keep running after every ball, no matter the score. And look at their players. Bamford was leading. He was so good. You look at Rafinha, look at Rodrigo did well. The defense was leaky, in my opinion, in the beginning. But with Bielsa in goal, and in general, Bielsa is just a mastermind. The amount he knows on other teams, it's like you're entering a game with a little bit of an advantage already. And all his players know, like they back him 100%. The fans back him 100%. I think you get to see that through the way they perform. So just an all-round club at this moment. I'm a little jealous of them.
I think adding to the fans and the players, I think even every pundit out there supports Leeds and the system they play. Uh, Gan, what do you feel? I mean, do you think Leeds can carry on the momentum for next season, or is it going to be something like a Sheffield United that they're going to fizzle out next year?
I think Bielsa is a mastermind, one of the best coaches, and if not the best, one of the best coaches in the generation. Pep Guardiola, many have idolized him. His is although he plays with a system which depends on a lot of running, and no doubt the Leeds players are fit. They do tend to incur a lot of injuries, and they do not have the squad depth to back them up as well. So if they continue playing like this, no doubt they'll get the results, but they'll definitely lose a lot of players in the process. They defensively they are pretty weak. I think they should work on that if they want to be a top side and finish another season on the top half of the table. Calvin Phillips, Bamford, Rodrigo, and Rafinha have been incredible for them this season. And if they can continue this form for the next season, I think they'll be a top side. Yeah.
That's a brilliant review right there. Moving on to the relegation scene, the relegation battle. Uh, this has been one part of the table that's been predetermined from quite an early stage, with the three contenders being very likely. That's West Brom, Fulham, and Sheffield. Uh, Aaron, how's the relegation race for you been? Were there any questions, or were you certain that it was going to be these three teams that were going to be relegated?
I mean, at the start of the season, I didn't expect Sheffield to be down there. Obviously, till the mid stage, I don't think they had even a single win in their bag. But then they got better. Ryan Brewster, obviously a major flop for them. Uh, I Brighton being 16th there, I think they should have done a lot better. I mean, obviously they weren't really there for the relegation battle. 41 or 13 points between them and Fulham, but they've only conceded 46 goals this season, which is very less for a team in the bottom half of the table. I feel like if they get the right money in and get a good attacking force next season, they could really see themselves in the top half of the table next season. Fulham, on the other hand, I feel they were a really good team to watch. They have really played really good football under their manager, and sad to see them go down this season. But Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, I think Brighton did lose out on the clinicality of Neil Maupay, and yeah, I think I remember a lot of memes going on about how Brighton has one of the highest XGs in almost every game, but they just fail to convert that every single time. Moving on to Ishan, Fulham again. Fulham has been an interesting topic this season because Scott Parker's played an interesting type of football. They played an attractive form of football, but I mean, again, their forwards just haven't contributed enough. The arrival of Josh Maja didn't help too much, and even with loan signings like Ruben Loftus-Cheek in there, the contribution just wasn't there. So, I mean, why? What went wrong with Fulham this season?
So again, I think Fulham's playing style is one of the very attractive to see. With the modernization of football and very tactical mindsets of teams and players. Fulham is one of those teams like Leeds, which is very enjoying to see them play. Like they don't play a very monotonous type of football, but they play like it's very joyful to see them play. But a few of the reasons I think Fulham failed to deliver. I think one of the reasons would be again the strikers weren't very capable. Like I think they should have converted quite a few goals more, maybe 15 in the season or so, and that would have pushed them above relegation. And more than that, I think one another big factor that has played in is the defensive defense of many teams. I mean, almost every team in the Premier League has a very organized defense. Breaking through this defense, if you play the Fulham style and if you play the free style of football, you're taking a gamble because you try, and if the defense works out well enough, you've exhausted your players and now you have to defend when they come for the attack. And I think that is one reason why you're taking a gamble when you're playing this more decorative style of football. And I think that is one of the reasons Fulham hasn't been able to capitalize on their wins.
Fair enough. I hope to see Fulham back next season. I hope to see Fulham persist with Scott Parker and his style of football because I feel they can really build an identity around his style of football. Moving on to our next segment, which is the stars of this season. There's been quite a few, big names brought in, established names performing well. But I think the player that stood out the most has been Harry Kane, top in the goal scoring charts, top in the assist charts. He's carried a Tottenham team that's just not looked as motivated, and he's carried the team through managerial changes, through bad times. So, Mark, how do you rate Harry Kane's performance this season?
For me, he's the best striker in the Premier League right now, and I really see him being very capable of beating Alan Shearer's record. The way he's played this season, you realize Kane is not someone who's only up the pitch. You find him so many times dropping down to the midfield. Look at the amount of assists he has between him and Son. That bromance was honestly amazing to watch. And watching someone like Kane play that well, he's like a pure striker. You look at the way he finishes, he's so good in front of goal. And Mourinho did an excellent job with him. Mourinho said he'd make him blow up, and I really think he did. For me, Kane, I'm sorry, but I don't really see him winning too much with Tottenham. I hope he moves to a bigger club because he is one of the best strikers in the world. And if he keeps playing like this in a club that's going to get him trophies, he's going to, like, we'd consider him on the likes of, maybe R9 and stuff like that because he's going to have the goals to back it. So let's hope he moves to a better club. But player of the season for me.
I mean, I think that's all of us there. I do hope so too that he moves on to a better club, and I feel he might just move on to your rivals, Man City. But again, that's not my place to speak. Uh, Again, now talking about Man City, one of the we've got to talk about how they've resurrected their season midway, and a lot of that has been because of Ruben Diaz. He's the Portuguese centre back. He's come in, he's stabilized things. So, Ken, what do you feel has been the impact of Ruben Diaz on the City team?
So Ruben Diaz has basically been a rock in defense for City. City, who have spent almost 200, 250, 300 million on the defense, this definitely tops their signing. He has played almost every single game. and the amount of clean sheets he has is like unthinkable. His partnership with John Stones is also an amazing partnership, which has led City to the title and then led them to the Champions League final. He's a mid-season signing, and I think he's been pivotal in the title league for Man City winning the title.
That's fair enough. I mean, he's been nominated for the Premier League Player of the Year. He's won the Foreign Writers Association uh, Player of the Year. So I think there's a lot to come from him even next year. Still pretty young, so I can see him doing better in the upcoming seasons. Uh, Another really big improvement mid-season was Jesse Lingard. He's come in and he's led the European race for West Ham. So Ishan, how has Lingard's performance, changed after his move to West Ham?
I think Lingard has stepped his game up 6, 7 notches. He has really just like he didn't take time. He came into West Ham, everyone was expecting the same slow Lingard. He just get to play and he'd improve himself while playing. But I think the first or the second game, I think the first 2, 3 games of his were explosive. He had a goal in his first. He had a brace in his first game, I remember, and it was very shocking for all of us because you don't expect a player he's been mocked like I think he's one of the most memed player in that sense in the Premier League. He was joked around with the most, and I think that kind of the toll that it takes on a player, such kind of things is immense. But you'd expect him. I mean, I did expect him to improve, but you'd expect a gradual change. But I think as soon as he moved to West Ham, he had like a boom of quality throughout a brace in his first game, and he fit into the team perfectly. I think Lingard, he's just done a fantastic job with that.
Completely agree. I think it's a bit disappointing to see him miss out on the Euro squad. But again, I am curious to know what happens to him next season. Does he go back to United? Does he stay with the Hammers? I guess only time will tell. So after talking about stars, we obviously need to talk about the flops of the season, and there's been quite a few. There's a lot of there's a lot of factors that have contributed. One of them being the absence of fans. So a major flop of the season was Willian. Willian last year at Chelsea, he was one of the leaders in the dressing room. He did contribute. He had 9 goals and 7 assists last year. But after moving to Arsenal, it's been a lackluster season for him. Just the initial show of 3 assists in the first game, and after that, it's been quite a bad season for him. So, Aaron, what do you say about the season that Williams had?
I mean, Arsenal in general have not had a great season. Has just scored 1 goal in 25 matches. He's got 5 assists, but not great for a player as big as him.
Okay, I mean that makes sense. Considering although he was got on a free transfer, his wage in particular was quite high. So I suppose people at the club did look at him to deliver, but clearly that didn't happen. Another, let's say, a big money signing that didn't work out was Ryan Brewster. The Liverpool youngster was touted really highly by the Liverpool locals because of his performances out on loan, but his switch to the Premier League just hasn't been the best of the switches. So, Mark, I mean, what are your views on Ryan's performance this season?
I think a lot of us were excited when he moved to Sheffield because we expected Sheffield to have another really good season. So we thought we'd see a lot of Rian getting goals, playing a lot of games. He played 27, but no goals, no assists. I mean, I know the club hasn't scored as many goals either, but he's still 21. He still has time to improve. He was one of the best. I remember hearing about him for the Under 17 World Cup, and we were all like, whoa, okay, these guys are in India. And now watching them on a big stage is really nice. I still believe in him. I think he can still come back on his career. I hope he sticks to working hard and not passing comments about his FIFA scores. But honestly, has stuff to work on. Fingers crossed he improves.
I hope he does well in the championship. He's performed previously in the championship, so I do sincerely hope he performs well because I see him as a great prospect for the England team and for big names in the English Premier League too. Talking about our final flop now, this is going to be a bit controversial considering that he's just scored the Champions League winner for Chelsea. But we've got to talk about like one of the biggest signings of the season, and that's been Kai Havertz. His output in the Premier League has been disappointing. Obviously, he did have COVID at the start of the season, but even after that, in the second half of the season, his work rate has been decent, but the output just hasn't been there. So, Kiran, what do you feel about Kai Havertz being a flop this season?
So I've heard that he is Chelsea's highest transfer fee, the highest transfer fee for a player, and I would say that he's not proven his price tag with the Champions League final goal, but he has been a kind of a letdown this season. He hasn't proven to be essential for Chelsea. Mason Mount taking the burden of that through the as they play the same position. He he's 70 million spent on him, which is I don't think he's proven every penny worth it as yet. His partnership with Warner is definitely deadly as we have seen before, but it's not been proven in the Premier League. They've definitely done it together in Bundesliga and for the German national team, but he's yet to connect with all the players in the Chelsea dressing room. And hopefully next season he can change all of that around and prove everyone wrong.
Okay, so guys, moving on to our last segment. It's the best of the season. So let's start off with our first award. It's who was, according to you, the best player of the season? Let's start with Aaron.
Going with stats, I think for me it was Harry Kane. Undoubtedly Harry Kane.
Fair
If he
enough.
was there for a better, playing for a better, big, not bigger, I can't say bigger, better club, I think he'll definitely win the Premier League with them.
Any objections to that, first of all?
I'll
I
agree.
don't think so.
I'll agree.
100% agree. It's Kane.
For once.
I think the jury has voted then. Harry Kane is our player of the season. Moving on to our second award, the best young player of the season. There's been quite a few. There's been there's been players across the 20 teams. But Mark, start us off. Who, according to you, was the best young player of the season?
I think Phil Foden. Excellent
Undoubtedly.
performances. Done really, really well. And won the title. So
I think
otherwise,
Mount,
Mount would have a shout.
yeah,
But
I think Mount was
Navi Green
close,
mentioned.
but I think I'll go with Phil Foden too.
Yeah, I think Phil Foden is awesome.
I mean, that was some quick decision making right there. So I suppose our second award is settled too. Phil Foden gets the best young player of the season. So moving on to our third award for the season, it's the best manager of the season. Now I'd like you all to look outside Pep Guardiola and look at other achievements that other managers have. They've attempted to do. So according to you, who's the best manager of the season? Ishan, start us off.
I think it's really close for me between David Moyes and Brendan Rodgers. But I think looking away, I'll say David Moyes because he had lesser financial backing in that sense. So I'll say David Moyes.
Interesting.
I'd also chip in Bielsa in there for the achievement he's bought with Leeds United, bringing a team from the Championship and then bringing them to 10th on the table has been mad. So I think even Bielsa is there contention for the best manager.
I think I would say David Moyes. He's done a fantastic job with West Ham, and with the amount of injuries he's had to bring them to a Europa League spot, borderline Champions League spot, that's unthinkable. Definitely David Moyes for me.
I was edging towards Brendan Rodgers, but Ishan's argument about the financial backing actually pushed me back towards David Moyes. I think it's him and the whole support staff he has behind him because they've done some really, really good transfers this season. Very smart business.
So I guess it's settled then. David Moyes gets the best manager award. So guys, that concludes our Premier League season review for the season 2020-2021. It was a wonderful season, and I feel I can say the same about this discussion that we had. We have had some great insights come in. We've had some nice arguments, and I genuinely look forward to another one of these discussions. But till then, on the behalf of our entire panel, goodbye. Thank you so much for tuning in.